All right, what's going on, everybody? Another episode of Splash Hit Territory. Giants played Team USA today. They lost 15-1, but that's a monster lineup, a monster team. So we just throw that one out. We have a special guest joining us today, Giants' new hitting coach, Hunter Menz. Hunter, what's going on, man? Thanks for waiting around after the game. Thanks for coming on. How's it going?
Good. I appreciate you having me, FP. Great to be
Yeah,
here.
we were talking about it before you came on. How many games do you think Team USA would win in a 162 game schedule? I mean, that's crazy.
Oh, it'd be a lot. They'd probably set some records. There's no doubt about that. There's no breaks in that lineup.
No, and I was thinking about it today. Those are all the guys you pitch around and circle not to beat you if you're playing them in a series, and it's just one after
Yeah,
another after another.
yeah. I was actually in the dugout thinking about that because when we played the Yankees quite a bit last year when I was with the Blue Jays, it got to the point where we would just send Judge down to first base, and we did it multiple times. And I was thinking about it in the dugout. I was like, I don't know if you can do that because you got Schwarber hitting right behind him. He can make you pay too, and they can do a lot of different things. So,
Yeah,
but yeah,
and
tough lineup, tough lineup
Harper
to
in front of him.
navigate.
That was just nuts
Yeah.
today. So and you throw that one away at spring training. Who really cares? It was fun for the fans. You had the flyover before the game with the fighter planes. That was really cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about you. University of Missouri. That's your connection to Tony. You were a grad assistant there. Tony was assistant there. That's how you guys started this friendship and this relationship, right?
No, it started even before that. It started back as when I was playing. So I was a player there from '04 to '06, and Tony's first year coaching, I think, would have been '03. So I got to know him a little bit when I was in high school and when I would come to camps. And then '04, I was there in the fall of '03, and then '04 was my first season. So I had him as a coach for all 3 years I was there, and have stayed in contact with him and in touch with him kind of throughout the years. And he's the same guy he is now as he was back then, just a little older and a little bit more experienced, but he's the same dude.
Well, what is that same guy?
It's I was reminded of it pretty quickly in the first spring training game, and I mean it was had the same sort of feel of a inter squad game back in the fall of 2003, and no matter what was going on, there was an intensity to him that he wanted to win and he wanted to compete as hard as he could, and he wanted us to compete as hard as we could too. And I think I don't know. It's always resonated with me, and I think you put the right people around him, and they're risen up by his energy and passion and competitiveness and intensity. And some people kind of shy away from it, I think, but I think most people are kind of lifted up by him and what he's always done.
Yeah, you feel like you're having a better day when you're just 5 feet from him because he's just so positive all the time, got so much energy. This question's for me. What's he like on the bench during the games in the big leagues now? Is he chirping? Is he quiet? What's his demeanor in the dugout?
I think he's still trying to figure that out. I think he's kind of going back and forth on who he wants to be, but there's so many just genuine moments that just pop out still. Like yesterday, there was a ball and later in the game, and Buddy Kennedy hit it and he hit it well, but he couldn't really tell if it was what it was going to do or how it was going to be hit, and ended up being the go-ahead home run. But it's getting back, and you can't tell if it's going to go out or not. And looks like it's kind of hit the wall. And Tony all at once let out a big yell, like a "dang it," because he thought it was going to go off the wall, and then it goes over the wall, and he's getting crap from everybody in the dugout. But it's just intense and into it at all times. There's no taking a break from it.
Well, that's cool. I'm glad you guys are back together. It's a great story. One of the better stories in camp. And you could tell when you're around you guys that you're friends that just happen to be big league coaches now. It's super cool because you go so far back. Well, let's talk about you as a big league coach. You were the assistant hitting coach in Toronto last year. You're this close to having a ring on your finger right now. Probably too soon to bring that up, but you did such a great job with those hitters. And now your first big league hitting coach job. You're the head guy now. What's that been like for you? Has there been any transition? Do you feel like all the pressure's on you now, or is it just kind of the same as it was last year in Toronto?
Um, I I think I would be ill-equipped for this job if I didn't have a coordinator background. And for 4 years in Toronto, I was a hitting coordinator before I moved up to the big leagues and was assistant. So I think every kind of step along the way has helped me to kind of prepare for it, because in this job as a big league hitting coach, there's a lot of people to talk to. There's a lot of people to get to know. There's a lot of systems to kind of put in place. You're touching a lot more people than you did as an assistant hitting coach. I was always told this by the hitting coaches that we have is like the conversations that they have. So much of it gets filtered between the assistant hitting coach and the head guy, just because you get pulled in a lot of different directions. I always kind of knew that and sensed that, but you feel it here too. I mean, you're having conversations with just a lot of people on a daily basis, and it feels a lot to me like being a coordinator. And it's spring training. There's a lot of moving parts and everything going, and I think that's probably the first part. The second part is just the responsibility of it. I mean, it's as an assistant, you don't really get blamed for a lot of stuff, and as the head guy, you get blamed for a lot of stuff, and that's just part of the gig, and you sign up for it, and but it's just I think anybody that takes this sort of job, it's kind of in our nature to we'll take all the blame. If you want to throw it at us, go ahead. You throw it at us. If you don't want to throw it at the players, that's fine. You throw it at us. We will absolutely shoulder the load and wear it for the players because we're working our tails off. And I remember last year I was having a conversation with one of our players, and we are struggling. And he asked me kind of like, how you doing? And I was like, dude, like we're trying as much as we can to give you everything we got. And if we weren't giving everything we had to you, then of course I would feel like we're not doing our job to the best of our abilities, but we're working our tails off and we're trying to get this right. And if we remain consistent with our moods and our demeanors, then we're probably going to turn this thing around. And last year it did. So, but yeah, it's different. I think just in being an assistant too, that's helped me just to kind of see what to expect from assistants or what I think assistants could be doing. And I've got a great one here, so it's been fun.
It's the most thankless job in baseball. It really is. You get all the blame and none of the credit. How many times do you open up a paper or read an article about, oh my God, this guy's a great hitting coach? It's always when the team's struggling, it's the hitting coach's fault. And just a little bit I did in the minor leagues as a hitting coach, no comparison at all to what you're doing. I feel like I was more counselor than hitting coach. Like the mechanics and stuff and the game planning, that's a huge part of it. But a lot of your job is you're a counselor, right? You're pumping these guys up. You're trying to keep them confident. And I think fans would be shocked to realize how some of the greatest players in the game sometimes are a little bit insecure and they lose their confidence.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, it was one of the welcome to the big league moments for me when I first got going. I think you first get to the big leagues and you assume everybody's extremely confident and has so much belief in themselves, and they're just trying different things with their swings to get things right. And that's like the farthest thing from the truth. They're just extremely talented, and they go through the same sort of struggles that a high school hitter would go through, and like a high school hitter is like they're fearful of whatever it may be, like not getting playing time as a high school kid. And big league players, they have the same sort of fears. They just are different fears of there's a lot of people watching, there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of things that build up on it. How do I get out of this slump? I need to make money. I want to make money. Is how I'm making money. Like all these things kind of go into it. And yeah, you have to create such a safe space for them as hitters and players, because we as coaches, and especially hitting coaches, we have such an intimate environment in the cage where you just don't really get that anywhere else. And I would honestly say in sports, you don't really get it anywhere else, because hitting in itself is just one of the most challenging things to do. And so you're getting guys at such a vulnerable state when they come into the cage. And so like sometimes the conversation starts with how the swing's going and it ends in a completely different. Those are just as good of conversations as the conversations that are just about the swing.
That's good stuff. All right. This is the part I've been waiting for. Let's get deep into the weeds. You and I had a tremendous conversation. And I've talked to a lot of major league hitting coaches, and sometimes you walk away and you're like, huh. And you and I like spoke the love language right away. And we were talking. I asked you, the Blue Jays had the lowest strikeout rate in the big leagues, I think, last year. And the Giants had a very high one. And I said, what's our two-strike approach going to be this year? And you told me something. And I stepped back a little bit. And you said, we don't really have a two-strike approach. It's more about game planning and being really confident in your game plan before you go up to the plate. Maybe you can touch on. I'm going to try to recreate that conversation right now. So maybe we can touch on that a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. I think so much of being good with two strikes is being good with less than two strikes. And there's plenty of ways when guys get to two strikes that can tell you how the at bat's going to finish or how the bat's going to end. And I think so much of it is like if you are ready from the very first pitch and you have a really rock solid plan of what I'm going to do from pitch number one, a lot of times the at bat doesn't go a whole lot longer to get to two strikes because you are just going to put yourself either in a really good count and we're going to get our best swing off when we get in that count, or we're going to take pitches because they're not in the zone that we're looking for. We're not hunting it's not the pitch that we're hunting. And then you end up walking or you end up getting yourself in a count there. And like, I think every at bat at some point is supposed to end. And I think it's up to hitters to when that point it comes and when it shows itself, we just got to end it. And it shows up in different ways. But the game planning part of it, I think I think it's an underrated part of hitting. I think it's an underrated part of game planning. There's a back and forth game. You talk to catchers and they're thinking about it on every single pitch. Like, what would I throw here? What is he thinking? What is the pitcher thinking? What do I go to here? What's he struggle with the most? There's such a cat and mouse game that goes on that, like, as hitters and hitting coaches, if we're not somewhat helping to prepare them for those, then you're going to get flailing at everything and you're just trying to cover everything. And then you're just in a 1-2-0-2 count every single time. And then you got to start really trying to figure out what to do with two strikes. And I'm of the belief, if you're just really good with less than two strikes, the two strike stuff's going to take care of itself. And a lot of the times we'll do rounds and we'll do things that will say like, hey, we'll go low to the backside or whatever it is. And just so that they know how they have that tool in their bag. If with two strikes they need to go to it, they can pull it out. But it's not something I've experienced this so much over my time as a coach too. The thing that you put the emphasis on is the thing that they're gonna worry about sometimes when they're not performing to it. And if you talk about two strikes, you put it out there a lot, and you talk about just putting the ball in play, just moving the ball in play, it becomes a very defensive sort of feel. And as hitters and as coaches, we never want them to feel like they're being defensive. Even when it becomes a two-strike count, I still don't want them to feel like they're up there and they're being attacked. I want them to feel like they're on the attack. And I think arming them with the right material and game planning material, it helps them to feel like I'm in control. I'm on the attack. And even if it's like I'm hunting an 0-0 breaking ball backdoor because I know that he loves to go to it, and he throws me a fastball down the middle and I take it, so what? He thinks he might have won that pitch, but for me, I also won that pitch too because I didn't give in and just swing at it because I wasn't looking for it, right? So you're always playing that cat and mouse game too, mentally, of I want to feel like I'm in charge. And if you have a good game plan, I think that's one of the ways to start to feel like you have charge.
Yeah, it's just shocking how many guys don't at the highest level. And Gene Kleins was my hitting coach as a Giant. And Hunter, he used to make me verbalize the game plan before I got past the top step in the dugout. And he didn't have all the numbers and
Yep.
data and stuff you guys have now. But he's like, what are you looking for here? I'm like, fastball away. I'm going to drill it through the shortstop chest. Or
100%.
he flipped me a 0-0 curveball last time. It was sitting right there. I'm sitting first pitch curveball. I'm going to hammer it. And I had one of my better years ever because I took that from the top step to the on deck circle to the batter's box consistently all season long. And there would be times, Hunter, when I'd have two hits. I'd be like, Gino, just let me go hit, man. I'm going to try to go deep right here. He's like, no. In his mind, Hunter, he said there's no such thing as a bad game plan. I just want to know that you have one.
And I'm sure you felt conviction in that too, right? You're convicted to what you're doing. You're convicted to what you're looking for. And nowadays the stuff is so good too. Like trying to cover everything and every single count it's a damn near impossible task to get to, right? So I also am of that same belief of like a bad plan with conviction is still the right plan. And it's the same thing for me. I have to be convicted when I'm talking through and giving them some information. I'm going to look through any and everything I can to make sure that I'm providing them with the right game plan or helping them to provide them with the right game plan. If I'm providing it with conviction, even if it ends up not being great, they're at least going from, in your example, going from the top step to the plate, they're at least going to feel a little bit more confident and like, okay, that's awesome. I'm going for it. And it might not be the right one, and it might not play out that way, but they're going to at least be confident. And I would like to think over the course of time, it starts to play out and they have some success and then they start to build upon it. But in your situation too, it's like a coach having you verbalize that out loud, it's holding you accountable to it as well. It's making sure that, hey, we're not just going up there blindly, because that's what good hitters, they're consistently going up there with some sort of plan. And some hitters, I've seen some dudes that can cover a lot of stuff because of the way that they move and the way their swing works, that they don't have to be as specific. And then some guys have to be really specific and they got to sit on certain pitches from time to time. So it's a lot different than just going up there and just flailing away.
Without giving away too many secrets, because somebody might watch this. Like what goes into a game plan for a certain hitter? Like how do you sit there and tailor each game or each pitcher what he's going to throw your guys? Like what goes into that game plan?
Yeah, if in the most simplest of terms, the way that I'm kind of starting it is trying to match up where they throw the pitches the most, in what zones, in what areas, and then how does that match up with our guy that's in the lineup. So we'll have like an overall game plan of like, this is what we're going to do as a group, and this is probably what it's going to look like if we beat him, when we beat him. And then the other side of that is if our guy that we have in the lineup, he has strengths too. And I'm always trying to help match up the strengths of what the guy's doing and the strengths that our guy has. And sometimes they don't match up. And so you got to give a little bit as a hitter of like, I don't necessarily hit this pitch well, but if I'm hunting it and I know they're going to throw it to me, I can hit it. Because I promise you, like, and you talk to any hitter about this, but if they struggle with curveballs and they have a really tough time hitting big 12-6 curveballs, if in and at bat they're not looking for a curveball, it's probably tough for them to hit. But if we go out there on the mound and I put a big 12-6 breaking ball off the machine and I tell them, hey, you know what's coming, hit it, they can do it. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like it's the coverage of trying to cover it all mentally, I think, is really challenging for guys. So if you can break it down, and even if it's something they don't hit well over the course of time, if they're looking for it and they're hunting it, they probably have a much better chance to be successful with it.
Dude,
And it's arming them with the right times to do it too.
that's great stuff. My best month in the big leagues, I sat soft the whole month because I showed the league I could hit fastballs.
No doubt.
And when you're looking for off speed, it's almost like a batting practice coach is throwing it to you because you
100%.
just see it out of the hand big and you're sitting on it. And it was
Yep.
hard to take a fastball right down the middle and go, oh man, I could have hit that, but stick with it. Here's a lollipop curveball, and you're looking for it and you hammer it.
And I'm sure that was somewhat deeper into your career too. It's a huge part of it is like you got to let go of the ego part of it. And because I think a lot of hitters, and I've experienced this with like really young hitters, I'm talking about high school, middle school, college guys to an extent too, they feel like they can cover anything and everything at any time. And some guys you can come closer to that. But as the competitor inside you, you don't want to say that I can't handle everything. Like you want to feel like you can handle everything. So kind of relinquishing some of that control and saying like, hey, I don't need to, I can just sit on certain pitches is somewhat of an ego check. You got to step back and say, it's okay if I don't cover everything. If I just kind of hammer this, or I'm looking for this, that's an okay thing too. And you gotta be okay with it.
Oh man, I mean, I could talk to you all day. The being offensive on offense thing, I got goosebumps when you were talking to me the other day because so many times as a hitter, you get so defensive up there. You find yourself, you might as well put 0-2 on the scoreboard when you're going bad
No doubt.
when you get to the box. But like to have that game plan, the confidence in the game plan, and to speak the same love language as your hitting coach, and where you click with me and I trust you because you know what you're doing. And what you're telling me in the cage translates to the game, and what you're telling me about the scouting report translates to the game. And now it's like, Hunter, tell me, like whatever you say, I got it. I mean, that's a hard thing to establish, right? As a new guy, to where like they trust you with your scouting reports and with what you're telling them.
It is. I think a couple things have kind of worked in my favor to that. One, we were good offensively last year, and a lot of people got to see us play in the playoffs and in the World Series. So our guys, I step into this role and our guys automatically think that I'm a really good hitting coach, or I know what I'm talking about because I was a part of that.
Yeah, resume, baby.
Yeah, and we had some good hitters too, right? So it's not anything that necessarily I did, but I think that goes into it as well. But also like the more you build relationships and the deeper you get into it with them, and they know that like you're still going to be there with them. Like, even if something goes wrong, even if they don't execute a plan, like you're not running from it. And we're going to continue to grind through this. And you know this, like you start to get some of these things right. And we say, hey, let's sit on this pitch, and here it comes. And they hit it out of the yard. And it's like, okay, I can roll with this. And like, and you're going to get some wrong. It's not always going to be spot on. Right. But like, for the most part, I'm diving in as much as I can and looking at and being as prepared as I can, because I mean, if you think about it, I didn't play in the big leagues. I didn't have a successful big league career. So it's like, I have to put in a ton of work and make sure I'm all in with them, and they know that and feel that, so that I can be as convicted as possible in giving them stuff as well. And then when it starts to kind of play out, then they see that and they know and understand it too.
All right, you've had a long day. I got to leave you with this one. The whole Hunter Menz, Hunter Pence thing. I mean, I mean, how's that gone so far?
Yeah, so kind of a funny story with that. This would have been in 2008. I played in the South Atlantic League. I mean, rewind that even more. I had a college summer ball teammate after my freshman year. He went to Texas Arlington, and he was telling me, he's like, dude, I play with a guy whose name is Hunter Pence. And I was like, really? I've never heard anything that similar before. And he's like, he's really good too. And that was before, I don't even know if he had been in pro ball yet. So it would have been in like 2004. So I had known kind of who he was. And then in 2008, he had been kind of a couple levels ahead of me, or like one level ahead of me, but still kind of in the minor leagues, I think. And I played in the South Atlantic League. And I remember this very vividly. We were in West Virginia, and they had a heckler, this guy that sat right next to the dugout, and he heckled everybody that came to the dish. And on this day, he looked at me and he goes, Hunter Menz, who are you trying to be? Hunter Pence? He was here last year and he's way better than you. It just kept wearing me out. And I was like, all right, well, so fast forward that to, it might have been the next year's spring training or like 2 spring trainings after that. There was a big league game going on. I was in Jupiter and I was kind of out behind the fence, and their bus kind of was like pulling up, or he was getting off or something. I went over to him and I said, hey man, you're not going to believe this, but my name's Hunter Menz. And he goes, no. And you guys know, that's the only time I've ever really talked to him in person, but like the reaction he had was like pure, genuine joy. So it's been easy for me when I'm around here and I'm telling people my name, and then I introduce myself and I tell them my last name and I say, hey, just like Hunter Pence, but Menz. And then it's easy for people to remember after that. So
yeah, especially broadcasters. Well, you'll see a lot of them this year. He does a lot of games for the Giants.
Sure.
I'll let you go, man. Thanks so much for your time today. Really, really great stuff. Giants fans are going to love it. Giants fans are going to love you. And more importantly, Giants players are going to love you. Good luck this season, man. I appreciate
it. Yeah, appreciate you having me.
Yeah. So, Susan, if you want to come back on, we can take care of some business. I know you've been waiting patiently and you're at the ballpark right now, but how cool is that? That guy's great, man. He makes me want to go hit for him right now.
So interesting. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I've wanted to talk to you all day about what we saw today with the exhibition game, and it kind of fits really well because we've got Fox One as a sponsor right now, and to talk about the WBC, which is exactly what I wanted to do. So it all comes together. So I think we should find out a little bit more about what they have in mind. Hang on for this. There it is.
It's coming on Fox Friday. Logan Webb's pitching against Team Brazil. Watch it on Fox. That's where you can find it. It was on ESPN today, but the whole tournament's on Fox. That's all they need to hear. And whatever. There it is. Stream the World Series Classic live March 16th through 14th and start your 7-day free trial today at fox1.com. And I guess if you do that QR code, it's a lot easier. Just like when I go on Netflix. Who will be covering opening day for the Giants, or opening night, I should say, for the Giants? Yeah. Do you want to talk about today at all? I mean, that team was insane. I mean, if they don't win.
It was so fun. There were just so many cool moments today. The Bednar brothers both pitching. They were delighted. And their whole family was here. I talked to their mom, Sue, their dad, Andy, their sister, Danielle, who is super cool. That was a blast. And then Bryce Eldridge had a day. I mean, he makes one error. It's a screaming line drive into now. But he also makes 2 great plays in the field, and he meets his idol, Bryce Harper. First time he's ever talked to Bryce Harper. Such a cool moment. And Bryce knew who he was, so he's just thrilled. And then he gets to stand next to Aaron Judge on first base after Judge hits that first inning single. And he went back to the dugout. He was like asking everybody, who's taller? Because they're both 6'7". So the consensus from the Giants apparently was that it was Judge, but Bryce was like, he's wearing a batting helmet. He's standing on first base. Like, it was pretty close. But he said Judge told him he hopes that Eldridge is playing on that team in 3 years. So
whoa,
amazing. And then they borrowed all those kids from the minor league system. They had a bunch of extras. A bunch of them got in. And they're wearing the jersey, but none of them have names or numbers. But they all had such a blast. I went and talked to RJ Davovich afterwards, and he said it was like kind of awkward because he's on the mound facing Patrick Bailey and Victor Barracoto, guys he knows. But he said it was just such a thrill being down in the bullpen with like David Ross, Mason Miller, and stuff like that. So really a neat day. It kind of reminds you like what this WBC is all about. Yeah, this is just an exhibition practice game for a really great U.S. team, but it's packed, right? Packed crowd and so many family. Like Brandon Crawford was here with his kids, and his kids got such a great collection of autographs. Every time I turned around, there were Crawfords talking to like Aaron Judge or whatever. Like it was really cool. So even like somebody like Brandon Crawford can come out and it's a little bit like, ooh, this is neat.
That was cool. And that's cool for Bryce. I mean, he grew up in Northern Virginia. So I said something to him the other day and he goes, I know that voice. I'll always remember that voice. They were listening to one of the games in the clubhouse because of the national stuff. And he's such a great kid. I went to Kyle Schwarber today. I haven't seen him in a while. And I said, you know what you have to do in the championship game? You have to like get your tooth knocked out. And then once your tooth is knocked out, you got to go up and hit a walk-off home run. He goes, that's a great idea. He goes, I'm going to go up there without a helmet. I'm just going to get hit with a fastball right in the face, have my tooth come out, and then hit a walk-off home run. So it was just cool for me. I was such a fanboy today, walking around talking to Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Aaron Judge. Everybody was there today. Mark DeRosa. I did the airplane line. I went up to Mark DeRosa. I said, I just want you to know, we're all counting on you. And he said, thanks, FP. No pressure at all. So I think he's probably feeling a lot of pressure. And even though the Giants lost 15-1, I mean, that team would win 140 games if they played 162 game schedule, because you're taking all the best players off the teams that probably rely on them, number one. And number two, that lineup and the pitching staff was just incredible. Yeah. And yeah, I bet you, I know this. They had shots of Tony at the end of the game in the dugout. He was not happy. His dad was there today. There's no way he was happy about that, even though, like, what are you going to do? It wasn't Logan Webb pitching for you. You didn't have your A lineup out there with Rafi Devers and everybody and Jung-Hoo Lee. I mean, that was a recipe for 15-1 today, but I know Tony feels like probably they should have done a little better.
Yeah, he said that's what he told me in the few beat writers that were over there rather on the Team USA side. He said like that wasn't our best game. I kind of like that. This is the first time we've heard this from him. And yeah, it's an exhibition game. It's not even a Cactus League game. But he kind of was getting, he was a little frustrated with it. And I like that. We have not seen that before. They played really well today. It was not quite as good, but you're right. Like it's a disjointed team. They've got guys out injured. They've got guys at the WBC. There's a lot of kids on the field. So I really think that, this, you mark this one up with an asterisk and just enjoy the day. I will tell you, that was another fun thing today, though. I've talked to Greg Vitello on the phone. We've texted a few times about things. He is a legend in St. Louis. Tony's dad, absolute legend, like one of the all-time great high school coaches, not just in baseball, but like one of the great high school soccer coaches of all time. Like this guy's a dude. And Tony was joking when he showed up at his manager session this morning, like, I got to go stop my dad from trying to take over practice right now. But his dad was out there helping the grounds crew. He was like talking to Ron, as he said, he was like in Ron Washington's pocket. He wanted to learn everything. He's retired. He still wants to pick Ron Washington's brain. And Greg was telling me that all the stuff that Ron Washington has been teaching for years is now gone all the way down into the high school level and softball. Like people are teaching what Ron Washington has been teaching infielders for a long time. So his influence is going far and wide. That's why he wanted to talk to Ron. He knows his stuff already, which is really cool. So yeah, I honestly was psyched about today. There was just so much neat, just baseball, like people that love baseball stuff. It's a small community. Ken Griffey Jr. was there. Like, how can you not love an event when Ken Griffey Jr. He's the ambassador for this event. So, man.
Michael Phelps was there today, sitting on the grass watching BP with his kids. I mean, it was the center of the baseball world today. And talking about Tony's dad, Greg, he had been on the field once with a pass to see at Wrigley Field for the Cubs. And so today was only his second time on the field. And we talked for a while. And then he went, I said, go up there and lean against the cage. and he went up for the whole Team USA BP, was leading against a cage. He was like a kid in a candy store. So I understand why Tony would be frustrated today. His first game on ESPN, so nationally televised, as a manager. His dad's in the stands, and they lose 15-1. But like, you're not going to beat that team. You're just not. I mean, so who cares about today? Is there anything else you want to cover before we sign off?
No, that was fun. That was about as much fun. I mean, I'm looking forward to the WBC. I have mixed feelings. We've talked about this before. I do worry about pitching this time of year or anybody getting hurt. Rayvers San Martin came out after just 13 pitches in Colombia's exhibition game today, which makes me a little nervous. So, you know, I've got a little bit of mixed feelings, but honestly, after today, I'm pretty psyched, and I'm really excited to see what Logan does on Friday. And you know, I got a soft spot for Team GB. Sadly, they are in the same bracket as Team USA, but you know, the two teams go. So watch out, Mexico and Brazil, I guess.
Do they have high tea in the locker room? The Great Britain team?
I mean, they really should. They should. That's what they do in cricket. You know, they break for tea in the middle of cricket. Very civilized.
That sounds really great. All right, Susan, thanks for coming on today. It was a fun day at the yard. I mean, how many times in a spring training game do F-22s or whatever they were fly over in the national anthem? It had a very festive atmosphere today. And the outcome to me is irrelevant. The center of the baseball universe was Scottsdale, Arizona today, and that was really, really cool. Okay, Susan, get to work. Thanks for coming on. We thank Hunter Menz for coming on today. I think the Giants got a diamond in the rough with this guy. I've talked to a lot of hitting coaches, Susan, around the cage, pre-series meetings as a broadcaster. Some guys are like, how are they doing? How are they a big league? This guy gets it. So that's a good sign for the Giants, because I know a lot of fans are worried about all the strikeouts. And when he talks about getting off your A swing early in the count with a really prepared game plan, that you shouldn't even get to 2 strikes, and then we'll figure that out, and not to talk about 2 strikes because it could be a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's, oh man, I could have done a 2-hour podcast talking hitting with him. Big time.
I think I mentioned to you, I haven't looked in a couple of days, but a couple of days ago, the Giants were leading the big leagues in average. Spring doesn't really mean a thing, but it's something, you know. And I've heard nothing but top marks from hitters about Hunter Menz.
Well, good stuff. Yeah. We'd be like, it's not a big deal. They're last in average and leading the league in strikeouts if they were, but it's still something. You're right. All right, sure. Susan, get to work. All right. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for popping on at the end. That was cool. Surprise guest appearance by Susan Slusser. Usually when I do it one-on-one, you don't come on. That was really cool. All right. Time to go, everybody. We'll be back later in the week. We're both here in Scottsdale now. We're boots on the ground. We're talking to players. We're watching baseball games. So maybe we'll get deep in the weeds with some other stuff next time. Like and follow, subscribe on YouTube. We're over 3,000. You guys are amazing. We love all of you. We read all the comments. You guys are making this thing go. So thank you very much. We have the most intelligent listeners, watchers, whatever you want to call for this thing. And like I say on the way out, it's time to go out in Scottsdale tonight. Swing hard in case you hit it on splash hit territory.